While Donald Trump is busy arresting or indicting his Democratic political rivals, while in the background, millions take to the streets in No King's Day protests against great personal sacrifice and great personal safety issues, given the political assassinations in Minnesota. Against that backdrop, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is about to decide whether Donald Trump's worst fascist tendencies to violate the sovereignty of California, to try to rip apart our United States, whether he's going to be able to do that or not. I synthesize all those topics. I bring it to you the only way I know how, without blowing smoke or sunshine, on a brand new podcast that I'm doing on the Midas Touch Network. I call it The Intersection. And here's a clip. We had an arrest today, not of a diabolical criminal or terrorist or the breakup of a terrorist gang that makes America safe, unless you think arresting the controller for the city of New York and a candidate for mayor, Brad Lander, makes you safe, makes your house and yourself safe and safer. Instead, what we have is yet another example of Donald Trump going after and arresting, indicting, and or detaining his political rivals, meaning Democrats, to embarrass them. But I think it's having the opposite effect. It's unifying the Democratic Party in a way I've never seen. And it is a badge of honor to be indicted, arrested, and or detained by the Trump administration. I think we should all get Midas or Legal AF tattoos, even if they're temporary and they wash off, that say, I've been arrested, detained, and or indicted by the Trump administration. And I'm proud to tell you that. I, in support of democracy. Let's do that. So add Brad Lander. Let's put it in context. What happened? Well, he was down at federal court today, immigration court, accompanying an immigrant for a hearing. He's done it before. He's talked about it in the debates about the mayoralty. He's probably running in fourth place right now. I think this is probably going to make him at least get up to third or maybe second, because he showed great mettle and great toughness. He didn't ask for the arrest, but he didn't shy away from it either. So he shows up there, and then swooping in are these masked, literally wearing a mask, masked ICE officers who try to take the immigrant away on some sort of summary disposition or deportation. And when Lander asked what's happening here, they arrest him. He didn't resist arrest. He asked a question. And then when they tried to arrest him, he said, show me the legal warrant. Where is the warrant? Where is the warrant? And then they just arrested him and took him away. Why? Because Donald Trump wants that to happen. The tone is set from the top. Put it in context. How did it start? Hannah Dugan, Wisconsin democratically elected judge, not only arrested, indicted, and perp walked with a photo to match that was distributed by the Department of Justice before the ink was dry on her criminal complaint. Hannah Dugan, why was she arrested? What was her crime? Not allowing her courtroom to be the scene of an ICE arrest with an administrative warrant? Now let's move up the chain. That didn't feed the beast that is Donald Trump. So now he indicts and arrests two people in Newark. Representative McIver from New Jersey, a member of the House, and Mayor Baraka, both political rivals of Donald Trump. Mayor Baraka has been on the short list to be the next president of the United States. And what's their crime? Using their eyeballs to provide oversight on a new federal detention center called Delaney Hall in Newark. Which is part of what they do as a congressperson. And that Delaney Hall is run by a private prison company that donated a lot of money to Donald Trump. They're arrested. McIver is indicted. The mayor is taken away in handcuffs, and later, Alina Habba has to drop the charges for trespass because they're bullshit. Yeah. She gets chastised by a magistrate judge who tells her, you got to do better. You're abusing power as a prosecutor, right? But the arrest is front page news. And the dismissal of the indictment is on page 54 in the birdcage, if you know what I mean. So we've got McIver and Baraka moving up the chain. Threats against our governor of California, Governor Newsom. Threats by Tom Homan, the border czar. By the way, who confirmed that guy as border czar? See, that's not a Senate-confirmed position, yet he wields tremendous power. Stephen Miller, too. They threatened to arrest a governor of one of our 50 states. Donald Trump says, well, he's got the helicopter, the Marine One in the background in White House. We should arrest the governor. Governor says, come and get it. Come and get it. Instead, Donald Trump tries to embarrass him by commandeering the National Guard. I'll talk about that hearing in a minute. But while they're at it, Kristi Noem shows up at a federal building, and the senior senator from California, Alex Padilla, shows up, tall guy, good-looking guy, senator, to ask questions, to ask a question. And he gets taken down and detained, and I think Ziplocs put it on his wrists because he had the temerity to ask a question of Kristi Noem. He is a sitting United States senator, the senior senator from California. And Donald Trump's reaction to that was not to apologize, but to double down and press a losing hand and say, well, he looks like an immigrant to me. He's brown. I mean, the brown part is my addition, but that's what he meant. And now we move from there to another political rival, somebody who's going to be a thorn in the side of Donald Trump in his home state of New York, Brad Lander. But once again, it is not a disqualifier for me, nor should it be for you, that any of these Democratic leaders are being arrested, indicted, or detained. It's a badge of honor. It proves they're bona fides to go up against Donald Trump, that they have the mettle to do so. Let's talk about the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Had a 3-judge panel today. We live streamed it, audio and video, on Legal AF. We're doing that with all the oral arguments we can get our hands on. 3-judge panel, Judge Bennett, Judge Miller, Judge Sung. Judge Bennett, formerly the Hawaii Attorney General, a moderate Republican. Yes, they still do exist. Hawaii is a blue state. He operated in a blue state and was respected for doing that. Picked by Trump for the Ninth Circuit. Hawaii is part of the Ninth Circuit, but a moderate, a pragmatist. Miller, none of those things. Nothing in his body of work or record says that he's moderate. Right-wing MAGA, yes. Federalist, yes. Clarence Thomas clerk, one of many, yes. So he's the second judge. Third judge, Judge Sung. Judge Sung, appointed by Joe Biden. She worked tirelessly her entire life to protect unions, workers' rights. She started her career as a fellow in the Brennan Center for Constitutional Rights, and then just has been working her butt off for labor unions her entire life, and took the bench. Wasn't ever a federal judge, went right to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the panel. What's the issue? The issue is whether Judge Breyer was right or wrong below as the federal trial judge in issuing a temporary restraining order against the Trump administration on Friday because he found that Donald Trump did illegal things. He violated the law, that he violated the 1903 Militia Act, that he violated the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, which is the very foundation of our separation of powers. It says that unless, I'm summarizing, unless an act of Congress gives the federal government its power or the Constitution, all other power resides in the states or in the people. We would not have come together. We would not have convinced states to leave the Confederation and join the United States of America without that provision. And Donald Trump, from the bully pulpit of his Oval Office, is attacking the very glue that holds our union together. And it's no coincidence, it's on purpose, that it's attacking a blue state. There's about 22 of them. Donald Trump doesn't have to worry about election anymore. So he's going after Gavin Newsom, trying to cripple him before he runs for office. He runs for the presidency. It's no shock or surprise Gavin Newsom is going to run and is probably now the leading candidate for the Democrats. Donald Trump knows it. And for me, it's actually galvanized support for Gavin Newsom. It's made him more palatable. We're watching how he would be as a leader under pressure. The Ninth Circuit major issue is whether Judge Breyer was right or wrong. The 10th Amendment and the Militia Act of 1903 were violated by Donald Trump by commandeering the National Guard because he claimed there was a rebellion going on. I don't know. Civil rights, civil discourse and protest with some bad apples does not render it a rebellion. Donald Trump I can't effectively execute law there. I need to have my federal troops on the ground. Trump's first argument to the Ninth Circuit today was that you can't even review this. It's not justiciable. Judges can't provide oversight to how Donald Trump declares whether there is a rebellion or not, or whether there is whether he's having difficulty executing the laws. That's only for the president. I think that's a loser based on the hearing that I watched. I don't think he's got 3 votes for that. I don't think he has 2 votes for that. Sorry. So I think they find that they have the power to review what Donald Trump did. Next issue. Do they have the jurisdiction? Because Donald Trump took this appeal from the temporary restraining order, not from the preliminary injunction hearing that's scheduled for Friday. Generally, appellate courts don't have appellate jurisdiction over temporary restraining orders. But that seemed not to bother the panel today. I was a little surprised by that. I would have thought they would have given more focus on their lack of jurisdiction. But they don't seem to be troubled by that. So then lastly, it's going to be, did Judge Breyer properly make a record and find that Donald Trump violated the 10th Amendment and the Militia Act of 1903? And there, I think, based on my own experience, including arguing in the Ninth Circuit myself, based on the questions that were asked, led by Judge Bennett, the Hawaiian Attorney General guy, that they're going to find that the record is a bit incomplete. They're going to give directions to Judge Breyer to fill out that record, to complete that record, develop more facts about what the basis was from Donald Trump, and do that at Friday's hearing. Because they said at the end, we are mindful that there is another hearing on Friday before Judge Bennett. That makes the most sense to conserve scarce judicial resources. Let Breyer continue, which he hasn't been divested of jurisdiction, continue on Friday's hearing with directions from the Ninth Circuit, then bring the whole thing back to us for another oral argument about whether there should be a stay for the appeal, because we're on very narrow grounds with the Ninth Circuit. They're only there to determine whether the stay should be granted for the duration of the appeal on the temporary restraining order, but we've already moved past the temporary restraining order into the preliminary injunction phase. That's what I would do if I were them. And we'll know more probably by tomorrow, and I'll report on it. Where? Say it with me. Say it in comments. Midas Touch and the Legal AF YouTube channel. Welcome back. The Intersection. I'm the co-founder of Legal AF, founder of the Legal AF YouTube channel. But now here's my chance. Once a week, spread my wings and bring it to you unvarnished, unplugged, unfiltered, sometimes unhinged, the only way I know how, on the Midas Touch Network, The Intersection. If you enjoy the show, you can pick it up on all audio podcast platforms. In fact, I would encourage you to go over to any place you get your podcast from Apple, Spotify, Google, and the rest, and download, listen to The Intersection with Michael Popok. We could use more audio downloads. And now, if you want to support the show, be one of the first to get in there and leave a 5-star review. We got about 50 reviews after about 2 weeks. I'd like to get those numbers up as well. It matters. And then, of course, you can watch the recording on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Midas Touch Network. Thank you for being such a fervent supporter of all of my work, including my new show, The Intersection. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.